Hello and welcome to another episode of Extreme Polls. I'm Stevie, and as usual I'm joined by Mark and Sean. But on this episode we are joined by the fantastic Rob Locke with an E. Rob, thank you for coming on Extreme Polls. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I love your work.
You should as well. You should as well. To anyone who, for some reason, doesn't know who Rob Locke is, now Rob is...
Sorry, can you just rephrase that to most people who don't know who Rob Locke is? Yes.
I'm getting bodied on my own show here. Rob, you can take over as host and
No,
it's fine,
please.
all right. Now, Rob is an actor, voice artist, and also a chilled out entertainer. And again, he went viral earlier on in the year due to his fantastic work on Inside World. He's been called the David Brent.
Ideal world, Stevie. Ideal world. My God. Inside
you had
World.
one job, son.
That's a completely different show. One job, Stevie.
I like Inside World. Sounds so much more interesting though. Welcome to Inside World.
This is me just being me. I'm so sorry.
We could just stick to ITV if that helps.
Do you know, I text Mark before this and I said Stevie is there's gonna be one mistake at the start, and there it is, Inside World.
There's one. Can I just tell a quick story here on that point? Rob, we had a friend of ours who's an actor who came on to the show, and Stevie genuinely didn't mention anything about him being an actor and said, "What about you working in a pub?" So for about 5 minutes into the podcast, Stevie didn't even introduce him as an actor. And he's on like a very popular TV show, and Stevie was just talking about him like he worked in a pub.
Like he was some geezer from the local.
I know,
exactly.
Sean and me are just looking at each other going, what the fuck is going on?
This is crazy.
So he's got previous...
Thank goodness that was just a teeny mistake he made today.
Yes.
Nothing too calamitous. Exactly. You know, I have the anonymity of working for Indoor World or whatever it was, Inside World.
Inside World.
By the way, may I just say, this isn't a story, but as evidently expletives are permitted and I never get to use them, can I just say thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut. I'm going to have to cut all that. That can't happen on here. It's no good.
No, really? The sponsors pulled out. The sponsors.
Well, in that case, I
out.
retract my previous comments.
Rob, you had been leaving Twitter in stitches due to your outspoken selling technique, which again is very much like Ricky Gervais's much loved character from The Office. However, am I right? I was reading an interview with yourself not so long ago, where you were saying the reaction to your performances on Ideal World, you were getting, your phone was just going off left, right and centre. Your boss was even saying to you stuff like, "Are you seeing what's going on here?" And you were just so casual about it, going, "Nah." And again, if that was me, like the guys, if that was me with my phone gone mental, the first thing in my head I was going, what have I said now? Who's taking one of my things the wrong way? But you were just so blasé and relaxed about it. And then when did you realise sort of you'd become so famous overnight with it?
I think, first of all, I would have to say, I think that I was probably playing up the blasé and all of that because I'm always constantly thinking, what have I said now? That's sort of my stock phrase in my head every time I go on air. And it was extraordinary, but it happened as with often happens with me. My timing is impeccable, and it happened right before lockdown. So I think it was the next day everybody went into lockdown and first world problems. You know what I mean? So everyone was writing about how I was this viral star, and actually I wasn't at all because everyone had gone, no, to heck with that. That was yesterday's news. Now let's worry about this pandemic. So and quite rightly so, of course. But yeah, so it was a mixed bag, I suppose, of feelings and emotions. I was very flattered, and also slightly concerned about, is this the direction I want my career to go in? Because I left shopping television 20 years ago because I wanted to continue pursuing my career as an actor. And in those days, you couldn't be a presenter and an actor or a singer, or, people kind of poo-pooed crossover. And then I come back to England, and within just over a year, I'm being known again for doing exactly the thing that I left for in the first place. Although I don't think it matters as much now. So, and this is quite funny. And if it does nothing else but get people to watch what I do for as long as Ideal World will permit me to do it, and see what the full show is all about, then I think it's a good thing. And you can't take these gift horses and look them in the mouth, so to speak. Does that make sense?
And also, as well, to be honest, you're going to be taking over from me at the end of the show as well, Rob. So there you are. It's going to be a win-win for you.
Exactly.
So obviously, you were saying as well, so you have done so many shows as well as an actor, including Ray Donovan, NCIS. You've been involved in Jimmy Kimmel Live and Agent Carter. But what really caught our eye is being big gaming fans here, that you were doing the voices in a wee game called Skyrim, which I'm sure Mark and Sean are going to just go on about constantly.
Apologies in advance, Rob, because we are proper fanboys of Skyrim.
No, thank you. It's funny enough, of all the things I've done, that's the one everybody mentions and geeks out over, including my. Yeah, it's well, I suppose, especially here because. A lot of the shows that I did in the States are huge in the States, but they're not necessarily huge over here. They get shown on Sky 1 at 2 a.m. or something like that. But Skyrim is so loved ubiquitously, and so people, when they heard I've done that, they're like, oh my god! I even had the official Skyrim fan club contact me and which characters did you play, and I said, you're going to have to contact the director because I played so many. And it was so long ago, I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't, and I wish I could now.
Did you ever play the game, Rob?
No, I haven't yet. Actually, I've got a PS4, but I forget why. At the time, I don't think I had a good enough gaming system to play it, or the ability to play it, or some such thing. But no, I haven't yet, and it's one. And I almost didn't want to because I felt that it would destroy the ethos of this thing that I've been a part of. Do you know what I mean? It was almost in deference to it.
Yeah. It's actually one of the, on a personal level, it's one of the only, it's probably my favourite video game apart from Football Manager ever. I was racking my brain to figure out exactly what character you could have played, but then again, I looked through all of the different voice actors that were on it, and the amount of characters in that world is nuts, as you know. So it could have been.
It was over 1,000, wasn't it? Over 1,000 voice actors. It was. I remember at the time they were saying this is going to be one of the most ambitious sort of voice acting undertakings ever attempted. So it was. Yeah, I think I played about 40 characters or something.
Really?
It's as you know, it's a drop in the, and everything from the peasant that greets you when you enter a village to sort of sorcerers and wizards, and so I got to do a whole huge range of voices. But
do you remember anything that you said? Do you remember?
I remember Droga. I do remember Droga.
Oh, and, the big kind of we would call them Didier Droggers.
Right.
What did they do? What were they saying?
Do you know? Because it must have been. It was years ago, and also just to give you an idea, it's not like there's not a lot of context when you do the voice acting. I know it probably sounds very glamorous, but they would record rather in 4-hour blocks. So you go in for a 4-hour block, and you get a 10-minute break at the top of each hour. So you go into the voiceover booth. There's a script like the size of a Bible, and with just individual lines, and then the director directs you and tells you what kind of emotion each sentence needs, and sometimes you do variations. So you just say these random lines, and there are thousands of them. And I can't remember how many sessions I did. It was a lot, and an hour goes by in what feels like 5 seconds. They would always say, right, that's it, top of the hour break, and I'm like, what? We've only just started. So there was just such a massive information that was unrelated to anything. And of course, it was probably a year later the game came out. And when you're an actor, I mean, I did a play at the Southwark Playhouse during last summer, and people asked me to say some of the speeches from that play. I can't remember a flipping word that I said, and I had 25 pages of dialogue. You just don't retain it often.
Maybe I am the Dragonborn.
Maybe I am the Dragonborn. I just keep thinking of Ricky Gervais. Sorry, it's just topical. Ricky Gervais and extras with "Wizard, you shall not pass." Ian McKellen. Do you remember that? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. There was Christopher Plummer was in Skyrim. He did some of the voices.
Yes.
Which is it's interesting. Some pretty high profile voices in these games. But the more
they
I
had
listen
a bank
to your
of stars,
voice,
didn't they? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the more I listen to your voice, I think you were selling me dodgy swords in Riften.
Oh, was that the?
I think you were selling me some dodgy stuff.
I think that
I'm getting.
Some may call this junk, but to me they are treasures.
I think that what? Yes, I think that. Oh my goodness me! You've just plumbed a region of my brain that hasn't been touched for years.
There's some.
Wow.
The more I hear your voice, the more I'm taken into. I think we've spoken a lot, Rob, over the years.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that.
It's very possible. Very possible.
I think I've bought quite a lot of your sharp objects.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a friend, a very good friend, who because it's such a vast game, you can play it for years and never ever come across me, or you can play it for a day and always come across me. And this friend of mine was like, he called me years ago and said, "Are you in Skyrim?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And he's like, "I keep hearing you everywhere I go." I know I played a lot of characters that when you enter villages or different realms, I'm kind of the person that either sort of holds your hand and walks with you and gives you the lay of the land. You know I did a lot of those sorts of characters, and then some more exciting, evil, nefarious stuff a bit later after that.
Well, you mentioned nefarious. You mentioned nefarious, Rob, and in the game, the most nefarious element was the Daedra. Right, they were a nasty, evil, sinister Daedra, and they had armor that was Daedric. Now, for those of you out there who don't know who extreme polls are, we offer people ridiculous, fantastical polls on Twitter to see what people may or may not do for money. Now, Rob, we've got an offer for you. There's a specific item in Skyrim called the Daedric Battleaxe of Annihilation. Now, we've had a chat with some of the high up Daedras, some of the high Hegian Daedras, and they want on Ideal World. They want to have their product on it, and they want you to sell it. They'll give you 10% of the gold, but you have to go on and you have to do it. Now, they just want to see what you would do, just to see if they want to go down this business route. They want to see how would Rob Locke go about selling the Daedric Battleaxe of Annihilation.
Well, what people don't realize is there are many different Daedric Battleaxes in the range, if you like. But the Daedric Battleaxe of Annihilation is the very top of the range. It's one of a kind. Only one person in the world is ever going to have a chance to own it. And the reason that you would want to be that person is because, I don't know if you know much about battle axes, but most of them only have 9 spikes. Now, the Daedric Battleaxe of Annihilation has 14 spikes. That means that you can get extra deep into crania, also windpipes. It's great for gouging out people's throats. It has an action that requires very little swing. It's beautifully balanced, and it's much more effective as a killing machine. So apart from that, because it's the only one, to the Daedra, he or she, or they, or him or them, who owns the Daedric Battleaxe of Annihilation is immediately entitled to become the leader of the clan, because they are so revered to be the owner of this amazing battle axe that not only is effective as a weapon, but also as a symbol of greatness and valor and bravery and achievement. And for that, any amount of gold, as I'm sure every Daedra will tell you, is worth its weight.
Sold. I think there's an order just coming in.
They want you. They want you.
I'm just hearing.
Yep, thumbs up. The email came through. Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Sort out
sold.
The contract.
I'm afraid that's sold out. Sorry, it's gone.
Yeah, 10% of gold's on its way.
I think we've now firmly established that I talk out of my bottom for a living.
Join the club.
Yes, my microphone. This is just for show. The real microphone is between my cheeks. In fact, my arse cheeks, of course.
We were noticing as well, Rob, throughout your career, you've also been not just with Skyrim, but you were also in another video game, Mass Effect, where you were the British news anchor. And we thought to ourselves, we can't name the video game company who got in touch with us here, but there is another. Yeah, I know there is another interested party for your wonderful talents, and they put a poll to us here. Now, again, this is just for yourself. Now, they have said that you can never work at Ideal World again, but for the next 10 years, you will be the voice for Super Mario with all royalties included. Would you be saying take or leave it?
Well, that's a really hard one. Hold on, Ideal World or the voice of Super Mario? I love it. Can I just say for the record, in case any of my colleagues are watching, I love you. Thank you very much for the job, but I'm sorry, Mario he's getting my vote.
It's a me, Rob. So, how would you approach that one with Super Mario then? If they gave you if you went into Nintendo Studios and they gave you all the lines and everything to prepare for them, how would you sort of prepare for that role as Mario? How would you get into character for it?
Well, first of all, I'd have to devise a character. Now, it's what I want that character to be, similar to the existing character, or would I want to sort of go off on my own tangent? And once, sorry, that was a bit David Brent. My own tangent. Would I like to mesh the two? No. I would. Once I had an idea of who the character was, I would probably do some light chanting, and some heavy breathing, and sort of stuff I do in my bedroom most nights. And then once I felt that the character was living within me, I would begin to say the lines. And that's that's it.
What about taking them in a different direction, like Batman, where you could Chris Nolan them and go Mario Begins, give him the big dart, dart at the beginning.
I'm Mario.
Rob, what if Bowser was never the bad guy? What if Bowser was always the victim? You've got to think about that as well.
That you have to look at it from both sides, I think, because everybody's justified in their actions. We only ever see it from the hero's side, but the hero is the one that writes history, aren't they? Yeah, isn't it?
Yes.
Whatever the
we never see how Mario treats Peach behind closed doors. We never see it.
He could, he could treat her very poorly, and we wouldn't know.
He could,
or he could be an absolute
maybe that's
gentleman.
Maybe that's why Bowser's always kidnapping her. Maybe he's not kidnapping her. Maybe he's trying to, emancipate her from this rogue plumber.
Yes, it's very true. There are a lot of rogue plumbers around. Let's just say I use my wrench for a number of different things. Tightening the bolts on her chains.
Exactly. We've now flipped Mario. Mario's now I'm never going to look at Mario.
He's an evil guy.
Heel.
Yeah. I love it. I'd play that game. Yeah. I play a lot of games, but I'd certainly play that game.
Do you actually? Are you a gamer, Rob?
I am. I can't wait for the PS5. Can you guys? So I know I'm a PS4 Pro person at the moment, and Last of Us 2 we just bought. My particular bent, if you want to call it that, is towards Lara Croft.
Amazing
I've been
games.
A Tomb Raider fan.
What attracted you to Lara Croft, Rob?
She had a couple of very important assets that I thought were. Her grappling axe, one of them. And she always managed to maintain a wonderful ponytail throughout her endeavours, and I really admired that. So, I was very upset though when they did the remakes, and for some reason she decided that in the hot jungle a pair of trousers was in order. I thought she was much better off with the short shorts myself, but purely from a practical point of view. Yeah, temperature regulation. You've got to think about that in the jungle. Yeah.
The new games are absolutely sensational, aren't they? The new Tomb Raider games.
Right. Rise of the Tomb Raider is one of the best games I think ever made, and the problem is I'm so OCD. I'm completely obsessive. I can't play them unless I've got a lot of time off. So Rise of the Tomb Raider, I think I was playing it 8 hours a day for about 3 or 4 weeks until I finished it, and I have to complete everything. So I got 100% in every single realm, every single area, and then still at the end wanted to go back and finish because I discovered that I didn't get 100% of all my weapons because you have to kill animals and get their skins to do that, and I hadn't done that enough. So I hadn't completed 100% of the game, and it drove me crazy for weeks. So, but I was dreaming about living in the all of the different areas of. It was bizarre. I was starting to lose the line between reality and fantasy, but brilliant games, yes.
That's like the way Stevie plays games. See, I've honestly,
oh really?
See, Stevie and I lived together for a couple of years, and
not in that way, by the way.
Anyway, but honestly, Stevie would be playing Metal Gear Solid, what, the new one, like
I played the first one. Oh, the first one. I broke up with my girlfriend, and that's how I got over it. Metal Gear Solid. Didn't stop till I finished it. Didn't sleep. Drank lots of Jack Daniels and finished Metal Gear Solid, the original.
Rob, have you played all the other Metal Gear games? Are you a fan?
No, I haven't. No, only because I never had a PlayStation 2 or 3. I only had the original PlayStation, and then there was a gap. I was an actor for a while, so we didn't have that thing. What do they call it? Money. That's right.
You've cut Stevie deep. See, so basically, Rob. So what Stevie would do? I genuinely, for about 4 months, I remember Stevie just religiously played this game, and it was like some tiny little achievement he didn't get, and he was still plodding on, mate. And I was just like, mate, there's like a billion other games that you can be playing now. And it wasn't like there was no like new mission he was doing or anything. It was just this one tiny thing that he couldn't get yet.
Yeah.
4 months.
I did that. I had about 3 or 4 days. There was one section of and I forget exactly where it was in Rise of the Tomb Raider, where you had to sort of start and jump onto a platform that would go all the way around, and then you had to jump up a wall and run really quickly and grab something before it closed or whatever. And I just couldn't get it. And I mean, for days I was over and over and over it. And in the end, I was distraught, and my life was starting to suffer in unmentionable ways. So I did look up if there was something I was doing wrong. And it turned out that there was a particular wall that all I had to do was throw a rope up it and I could scale it, and that was it. So for 3 or 4 days, but no, I'm the same as Stevie. I can't, it has to be done. It has to be finished. Otherwise,
Rob, serious question. When you get stuck, do you ever use Google? Do you ever jump on there for a peek?
Oh, of course not. That would be sacrilege. Google, what is this Google of which you speak? Yeah, I do. I have occasionally used a walkthrough, you know. Well, actually, to be fair, when I first started playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, because it's really, and speaking also of Metal Gear Solid, it was a real shame that when I did have a PS3 that a friend gave me for a while, and then you couldn't, I don't think it was backwards compatible, was it, to the PS2? And then the PS4, I know there are some PS3 games, so there are some Metal Gear Solids I have yet to catch up on, and I will, if possible, and when possible. But when I started playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, that was the first game I played from when I owned a PS4 Pro, again, for after years of a gap of not having a console. And I did use the walkthrough just to kind of get me started as to how to do things and what to look out for and how to do the challenges. But it was only the first challenge, and after that I flew solo, so to speak. Yes.
Well, I think the fact that you haven't played any Metal Gear Solid games after the first one, I was going to actually really get that off my chest, to be honest with you, Rob. But I will, please. Since you're a newcomer here, you're a guest, I'm going to let you off with that one because...
Thank you.
You're welcome. All 3 of us here.
I promise I'll catch up by the time we do the follow-up to this. I promise I will catch up. Whatever is available to still play.
I hope that is the case.
Will. But also, I can't miss one. So I've got to somehow be able to play Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, and then whatever, and then the rest.
Wow, you are like Stevie. That's Stevie's obsessive in that same way as well.
Has to be canon. It has to be the storyline.
Of course.
Rob, me and you are going to get on just fine. We are going to be friends, and we will talk.
Your apology means a lot to me. Yeah, absolutely, you do. Feel free to use it whenever you need, even on dark nights when you're stuck playing whatever it is.
I think at this part now in the podcast, myself, Mark and Sean and Rob, feel free to get involved here because we're going to get a very common theme off our chest. And I think I speak for everyone here when I say it's time for Scotland to officially get the pubs open. Am I right, Sean?
Okay, this is an official speech that our legal team have drafted. After having finally defeated coronavirus and sending it homeward to think again, Scotland should now immediately get the pubs open. This is an official plea to Nicola Sturgeon. It's time. Scotland is ready. Please, we beg of you, Mrs. President, get the pubs open now.
I think just to echo that, I mean, we fought the corona on the beaches, we fought it in the landing grounds, the streets and the fields get the pubs open.
And especially by the 23rd of July, please, because I'm coming up there with my son for a week and traveling all the way around Scotland. It's my favorite country. So if there's anything I can do by the way of a petition or, my ideal world clout, then do let me know. I'd be happy to.
That's appreciated. Absolutely. Stevie,
how can you go to Scotland and not have a pub open? It would be a
horrendous
tragedy. I know.
Stevie, do you have anything to add
I didn't say
to the official policy that we're trying to get into effect?
I do. I mean, there's been very many epic battles in history, such as the Battle of Endor in Westeros against the Great Undead. But it's fair to say Scotland v coronavirus has been the most epic 3-month battle I've ever seen. And I'm just so delighted that Scotland were the victors, because it's over. Coronavirus has been quashed. And we just simply have to get the pubs open, especially for Rob now as well. It's time.
Yeah. Well, that's the cherry on the icing and the cake. Rob's coming on the 23rd.
Yes, and that, of course, that is the main reason that the pub should open. To satisfy my huge appetite for alcohol. By the way, little known fact that I know in America there was some concern over whether bleach was the right thing to cure coronavirus. Single malt, mate. Single malt. That's what. And Lafroig, 25 year, because the rest is pish.
Oh. Was that a Scottish accent?
Well, I'm sorry, it was. I've got Scottish blood, a wee bit.
It was good.
Oh, thank you.
It was good.
Thank you.
It was good, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Rob, let me ask you, right? So we get the pubs open for you coming up in July, all right?
Thank you. Yes.
So you go into a pub and they ask and they say, Rob, what's it going to be? It's on the house. What is your ideal pint? If say there's no whiskey, right? What is your ideal pint of beer?
Well, I shouldn't say this because it's a different country, but I'm a Guinness drinker myself.
Oh,
love my Guinness. But I don't know what is the sort of the best local Scottish beer? Because I'd say give me a pint of your finest, and I'll try that.
We haven't really heard of many, but there's not really many Scottish beers, but definitely Guinness is Guinness is a good shout. Sean's obsessed with Guinness. I like Guinness.
Good.
Rob,
have you tried it? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
What is that feeling that people? Because some people love Guinness, right? Some people just their bodies are supposed to drink it. Me and my friend describe Guinness like it's a big, dirty pint of water.
Oh,
it's like a dirty pint of water. It's so hydrating. It's just like I think I might have an iron deficiency or something because it's like
it's a meal. It's a meal in a glass. It's a meal in a glass. It's that you can have that as lunch.
But it's not. Do you know that calorific? If that's a word,
is it?
No. By the way,
that's why you have to have several of them.
Totally. I used to always think. Genuinely, 155 calories in a 440 ml can, which was stunning for me to find out because when you consider...
Where did this come from?
Can I go to the fridge and provide the evidence here? Is that...
Please, help yourself. Right. Absolutely. Definitely. Well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to use my ultra-safe and completely proven safe vape.
I don't want... Artificial snout.
I don't want to be...
rude,
overly, rude or over branding. But here is so this is a can of. Can you see that? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Not really, but I'll put a graphic up for the audience if we can.
Can you see it, Rob?
Yes, just about. Not.
So basically, it says 1 can, 440 ml is 155 calories. Can you see it now?
But that's because you're not supposed to just drink one.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You've got to get your calories up, you have to drink 4 or 5, I find.
Yes.
Rob, what do you do? What do you go up? So you have your Guinness, right? What's the next stage? Because everyone's got a next stage. What's the next stage?
Well, also I have 2 stages to Guinness because I don't know if this is the black and tan, but there's if you haven't tried this, you should try it. And anyone who doesn't like Guinness, this is the way to get them to like Guinness. A shot of port in your Guinness. Amazing. So that's kind of like Guinness plus. But then after that, I usually go bourbon and well, I don't drink colas anymore, sodas or anything like that. But I used to do Jack and Diet. That was my drink. But if I were in your neck of the woods, it would be either blended scotches or single. I'd be on the single malts, and the cigars would come out, and it would be sitting in front of the fireplace. You know what I mean? It'd be all of that.
So, Rob, it turns out we are alcohol compatible. See that? Like,
excellent. So that's the main thing.
So, do you know, like when I used to drink port, Sean used to just look at me and laugh and say that's an old sailor's drink, is what he used to say. Like but port is just incredible. The only problem is it's so easy to drink. You can comfortably smash a bottle of that and not even notice it because it's just so easy.
I was expecting Rob to come into the flat the next day and there would be a bottle of mead and a fucking wizard sitting and fucking two guys with axes
and a Daedric Battleaxe.
Yeah, right. Of Annihilation.
So how? I'm just genuinely interested. So how are you drinking that? So a Guinness with a port. So just pour. Like, what can I measure a port?
It's one shot. Yeah. So you ask the barman just to pour your Guinness and just pour a one shot of port into it, whatever port you like, and it just adds a little sweetness to the whole drink, and it's really nice. It's really delicious. So, and even if you don't like port on its own, it's kind of the combination works well. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
What about Guinness with a Tia Maria?
That would work.
Tried that?
Because it's a coffee. No, I haven't. I've got a story I can tell you, but I invented a drink called a Tia Boo, which is Tia Maria and Malibu mixed with ice. It's very nice. Very nice.
So, Rob, when are you coming up to Glasgow again?
Couple of weeks. Well, actually, we were going to drive from Loch Lomond right to Edinburgh, but Glasgow's on the way, and now I have a reason for us to stop over.
I'll give you a wee address to come to, right?
All right. So anyway, I've got to tell you. So one Christmas, my parents stayed. This was 20 years ago. My parents stayed over with me in my London flat, and we got really, really drunk the night before. But they woke up, being parents, as they always do, at the crack of dawn, and along with my sister, who was sleeping in the front room, so she had no choice but to wake up. And I kind of came round from my stupor and slumber, and I kept hearing this phrase, "Tia Boo, Tia Boo, Tia." What was it? Turumbaloo. Let's have more Turumbaloo. And what the hell is fucking Turumbaloo?
Yeah.
So I go out, and they've taken my Tia Boo concept, and they've added rum and also, what was it? Tea, rum, Bailoo, and rum. So they'd added rum and Baileys to my Tia Maria and Malibu and made a drink called a Turumbaloo. Very, very interesting concoction. You need about 3 of those.
Sounds amazing.
Make sure you're sitting down when you're on your third one. So.
I mean,
it sounds like something Oliver Reed would be making.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, exactly.
As a starter, I think I love Baileys as well. Like so much. Like just a delicious, delicious drink.
Every Christmas, I have a ritual. I have lots of rituals in my life, and because I'm such a film buff, every Christmas, bottle of Baileys, Love Actually, drink the whole bottle before the film's finished. That's my yearly ritual around Christmas time. So yeah,
that's perfect.
Love it. Love it.
Perfect. All about that.
Rob, we were
sorry, go ahead, please.
No, on you go. I'll let you finish.
No, I was just going to say, thinking about it, I probably drink too much now. I'm thinking, although I haven't drunk for the last 6 weeks because I've been on a diet. So I cut it all out, and I decided I was going to go. Well, it's actually been about 5 weeks. I decided I was going to get 1 month under my belt with so not a carb nor an alcoholic beverage has passed these lips for over a month. I'm very proud, but I'll be drinking myself to oblivion when I come out of Scotland for sure. So.
Well, at the risk of sounding like a bunch of alcoholics,
back with a bang.
Exactly. Our sponsors would like to move on to the next segment of the show.
Very well, good. Well, I'm sure their drinks would be wonderful mixers for various different beverages.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking about the next part of the show, Rob, we wanted to talk about your acting career And one of the things that we noticed was that you played a lot of Russian characters, going by your credits. And then a very interesting thing is you actually speak fluent Russian as well.
I do.
How long did it take you to learn Russian?
Well, so when I was at school, my father paid an awful lot of money for me to be educated at one of a good school in England, and so when I got to 14, we had options to fourth form options, I think they called them. So it was an extra subject that we would elect to do. And it was either Russian, German, or classical studies. And my father, who worked in news at the time, said, well, everybody speaks or learns German. Nobody gives a flying what's it about classical studies, but Russian is the language of the future. And at the time, it was during the 80s, so it was the Cold War, So I learned Russian and at school for 4 years and had a huge amount of gusto for wanting to be very proficient at it. And then we went on a couple of school trips, and then I was offered a job working for the Central Studio of Documentary Film for a year in Moscow when I left school. So that's what I did. I spent on and off probably about a year and a bit over there. And I came back just before the Iron Curtain was yanked down, and that in that time it was sufficient for me to learn to speak fluently. And I lived with a Russian family, and so I spoke Russian every day, and in fact didn't speak English for almost a year, except when I spoke to my parents on the phone, and sometimes would even forget my English. It was bizarre. And I had a friend who was Russian but spoke English, and I'd sometimes have to ask him what an English word was in Russian. You forget. It's amazing how quickly your brain sort of starts to, So that was that, and then when the Iron Curtain came down, everybody looked behind it and went, "Wait, this is what we've been afraid of all these years," and that was it. No one cared about Russia anymore. And then fast forward, I'm in Hollywood, and I get asked to play a British gangster in a sort of a Guy Ritchie-esque type gangster comedy movie. And they asked me to grow a beard, and when I grew my beard, everyone joked and said, "Hey, you look like Russian." And I said, well, I speak Russian. And my agent was, no. And that's where that started. So she started sending me out to audition for Russian roles. And it turns out that Russians might be brilliant actors in their own language, but many of them couldn't get the nuances of the Western delivery and comedy and dialect, and the cultural differences just didn't translate. So I would go into a room. So I remember I went up for a commercial when I played a bottle of vodka on television, and in a series of commercials. They're all online. You have to see it to believe.
I want to see this, Rob.
It's all on vimeo.com/Rob Locke with the knee. And I went into a room with 100 real Russians, all trying to get this job, and I'm the one that got it. So,
wow, man.
And that became that. And there were about 5 of us, literally, in the whole of Hollywood, 5 actors. So there was a tall one, a short one, a thin one, a fat one, an old one and a young one. And every episodic television show, every film, anytime there was Russian, I'd always get an audition because I had a good reel. And I would more often than not get the job. And if I didn't get that episode, then it would only be... NCIS, for example, has always got Russian characters on it. So it wasn't a question of if I would get a role on NCIS. It was when. And I've done 2 of them. I almost did the third one. They wanted me to do the third one last year, but I had other commitments. So I'm still waiting to do New Orleans. I've done LA, the main NCIS, but I haven't done New Orleans yet, and Scorpion and all these other shows. But, for 5 years, I just worked constantly and all these other people I knew, all desperately trying to make it in Hollywood. And, fat Brit bloke, because he's got a beard and looks a bit Russian, I'm working more than any of them. So hey.
And can speak Russian.
It's fair to say, Rob, that the Russians have been good to you.
They have been very good to me, yes. I'm very, very pleased with Russia, thank you. I will send check to Moscow immediately. They have. Amazing place, amazing people, amazing language, actually, particularly the poetry. But во всякой книге предисловие есть первое вместе с тем последний вещь. So it just sounds very poetic. That's from Lermontov, a hero of our time, or Герой нашего времени in Russian. And it's the prologue, and it means in every book, the prologue is the first, and at the same time, the very last thing. So in other words, it gives you a clue as to what's going to happen in the story, and then it confirms what did happen in the story at the end. So
You've just raised the stock price of Extreme Poles Entertainment Limited by about 25%. I can see it on the index. Yeah. The Nasdaq. We're a way up. Way up. Fine.
There's a lot of but there is a lot of dodgy money being pledged just there. To be fair.
Well, let me know if you need me to break out the Shakespeare. Let me know.
It's quite incredible, Rob, because Moscow's been mentioned a lot on Extreme Poles, and you're talking about we've all three of us been at different times. So you're going to Moscow to enhance yourself, improve your dialect, and embrace the culture. Whereas I go to Moscow and just a case of any more baby. We're quite different.
It's changed a lot.
From what Rob's told us, I think Rob's going for some similar reasons, which include the drinking of delicious beverages.
Well, I would go to production meetings at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you'd have all these very sort of dour faces all sitting around a table, and the tea would come out. You'd get your little teapot and all of that sort of stuff. And then after about 10, 15 minutes, everyone would sort of start looking at each other, and eventually somebody would have the courage to say, would you like something a little stronger? And then out comes the tray with cognac and vodka. And, and I'd go to sometimes 3 or 4 of these meetings a day. And then I'd go back to my flat, and I had a fridge because everything was so cheap because of the currency. And McDonald's had opened up. I'd just go to McDonald's and buy like 50 Big Macs. And I had a McDonald's fridge that was just crammed full of McDonald's. Yeah. Getting drunk enough. The stories I will tell you, you wouldn't believe. I could tell you one. Me, Rob. Yeah. I could tell you one story. I mean, there are so many. But what used to be Gorky Street, you may have heard that. And Red Square you'll have heard of. So you've got Red Square, then this enormous roundabout, and then Gorky Street, which is a one-way street, or you can't cross it, rather. You have to go all the way around the roundabout, past Red Square to go back up Gorky Street, if that's the direction you're travelling in. On the corner, going towards the roundabout, is a huge hotel called the Inn Tourist Hotel. At least that's what it was called 20 years ago. So I had a friend visiting from England, and we went to the Inn Tourist Hotel, and at the bottom of which was the Löwenbräu, or the Lowenbräu bar, which served, obviously, Lowenbräu. So, and also it was where all the high-class prostitutes would find their marks. And that's a story for another
day. The stock's going back down again. The stock's going down again.
Oh, no, it's coming back up. So we'd had about 12 pints of Lowenbräu. We came out of the hotel, got in my car, and we drove I was driving, and I'm not proud of this, and obviously I never drink and drive because I always spill it. So I went all the way around the roundabout to go back up Gorky Street, and suddenly on the other corner, policeman flags us down. We get out the car, and he said, "Have you been drinking?" No, I said. Well, I've had one. We're allowed that in our country, thinking that would mean something, and lying through my teeth. Bear in mind, I was about 19 at the time. And he said, "Oh, no, in this country, not allowed. I'm going to have to take you to jail, I'm afraid." So my friend and I are like, "Oh, God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with the car?" And then there's this silence. And he said, "Or you can pay fine." So we're like, "Okay, yeah." So my friend gets $20 out of his wallet, gives the policeman the $20. "Thank you very much, spasiba." He lets me get back in the car and drive off and go home. And that's what happened. Amazing. Anyway, that's one of myriad stories.
God bless the Soviet Union.
Aye, indeed. But you never thought that you were going to say that on an Extreme Poles podcast, did you? Or maybe you did. I suppose maybe you probably would.
I'm quite comfortable with it. I think actually all three of us are quite fans of that side of the world as well. So and yes, there is still that element of those cultures where there's corruption and as advantageous corruption at times, as you've you've established.
Very much, yeah, well, very much so. And it's it's just one of those countries, because it's closed off. It has its own way of doing things. And like with most of those nations, the people are amazing. They're so friendly. I would meet someone new, and they would say, "Oh, you must come round, drink, meet my children, my wife. We have dinner," And that night you're in their flat, and they're cooking for you and welcoming you into their home. It's just the people at the top with the power. It's the old saying, isn't it? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it's the same with the States now. In America, amazing people. The fact they're getting royally screwed every day by the government, that's where the problem is. It's the fat cats at the top with all the money. But generally, as a nation, other than that, they're just America, Russia, and many other places I've been are very hospitable, wonderful places.
You were in Russia in the 80s?
When would it have been? So no, I left school in 1990. So I was there 1990, on and off.
So you were there?
I think I did.
In the
just
Soviet
prior
Union?
to the breakup of
just prior to it going down.
Yeah.
Did you not think it's interesting that because my girlfriend's from Armenia, so they were in the Soviet Union,
right?
And me and my girlfriend have been around some of the ex-satellite states visiting her family, and the culture of eating food in the Soviet Union is quite different to the one that's portrayed. We think of food lines and queues and rationing and just doom and gloom, which obviously absolutely existed in many different places. But their actual relationship to food, when my girlfriend's uncle put out the food and it was caviar on black Moscow bread, and I was just like, wait a minute. This is
I lived on beluga caviar for all the time I was there.
But do you know that interesting? I suppose what I'm trying to say is that our perception of certain places, it's interesting because they've got things like that you couldn't imagine in a Glasgow in the 80s or whatever, somebody having a caviar sandwich. I mean, you couldn't picture that happening. Because it just doesn't have even the same connotation there. Exactly. So I was shocked. I was like, people eat caviar sandwiches as a snack. Yep, that's what they do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's funny because when I first went there, because I don't know if people know, but the currency is not transmutable. It's that you can't exchange the currency anywhere else in the world, the ruble. But the ruble doesn't really mean much anymore. Back even in those days when I was there, so it was 1990. The pound was what people wanted, and then later that very quickly, within 6 months, became everyone wanted a dollar. And at that time, a dollar was about 25 rubles, something like that. And the average state worker would only earn about 400 rubles a month. So everyone wanted what's called valuta, which is hard currency. So that's really what it's all about now. So when I was there, it was when Gorbachev would have been in power. So it was glasnost and perestroika. So glasnost means openness, and perestroika means to rebuild, right? So that's what it was going on. But it was the time of the most austerity, really, because I would go into a supermarket the size of the biggest Asda or Tesco or Sainsbury's you can think of, and the shelves would be empty, and there was literally nothing there. There's an old joke. I would go up to the guy and say, "Excuse me, you don't have any bread?" And he's like, "No. Today is the day we don't have any fish. Tomorrow we don't have any bread." But that wasn't because of anything other than the fact that hard currency had become the norm. So all of the stuff that was on those shelves, screw the Russian people. Anyone who's got dollars or pounds or hard currency, it's all stuck in another special secret store where you could have anything and everything you wanted if you had the right kind of currency. And that was the hard part, And it was really weird. There was a little ice cream kiosk that literally on the street. That I could go up to, and if you said the right thing, they'd have a stash of bottles of cognac and vodka around the back, Or if I went to put petrol in the car, I'd have to queue for sometimes an hour just to get petrol. And that's not during any kind of pandemic or any kind of anything. That was every day. And that was purely because their system was corrupted by hard currency. So there you go.
Keep
pretty serious, didn't it? Sorry.
No, I think it's probably worthwhile me telling you, Rob. I actually live in Kiev, and So I just So last year I was here for a few months, but this year I've been here since February. So I mean, clearly it's not to the same levels of what it was. And
right
1990
but
there's a lot of similarities in things that you were describing there, because I have a business here as well. So
wow.
I understand that, like, when you try to do business even in the local currency in hryvnia, that they are like, they're even disrespecting and disregarding their own currency, and they're like, no dollars.
Yeah.
And there is entirely a black market where there is trade away from the norm. So you're totally right. Totally right.
Yeah, because it's the only
those days
type
return,
of,
Stevie? What if those days return, Stevie?
Yes, because we do have another quote strictly for yourself here, Rob, right?
Oh, okay.
So myself, Mark and Sean had a little suggestion. We put our heads together and we thought £1 million to yourself if Vladimir Putin takes over Britain and the Commonwealth. Now he calls it the Soviet Commonwealth, and you are going to be in an official role as Putin's interpreter. And now it will be for one reign, so that could be anything between 4 to 40 years.
Whatever he decides it's going to be, yeah.
Correct. £1 million though. Mm-hmm.
Important information, Rob. We've spoken to Putin, and he says he will still allow you to do Ideal World. Like, he'll still let you keep do that.
But Russian subtitles.
Oh, right. I'm sorry, so he's punishing me as well? No, I'm just kidding. I've already been Putin's interpreter, actually, on Jimmy Kimmel. They did a skit with Putin, and I retranslated. I don't think it was quite what he actually said, but yeah.
We do our research, Rob, at Extreme Pulse. Yeah. We do our research.
Yeah, I can tell. Yes. I'd have to pass on that one, I think. I don't think I'd want... I've done interpreting. It's blooming hard work, and I don't think I'd want to do it again. And...
I love that interpreting is your objection and not Britain being turned.
Well, no, there's that too. There's that too. No, I would not want. I would not want this fine, great, amazing country to be taken over by Vladimir Putin. I know a lot about Putin. I remember Putin. He was around. He was in the background in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, the FSB.
And I remember. Yeah, I remember the lady whose flat I lived in when I was there. Saying he's one to watch, and watch with caution. Actually, they said in those days. So I remember his face very, very, very well. People think he's actually one of the wealthiest people on the planet, but he doesn't. With more money than anybody.
I've heard that theory.
Stephen, yeah, because he doesn't declare. A lot of it's not declared or accounted for. So, I could tell you so many stories. Stalin was an interesting one. I'd actually translated a documentary about Stalin. And that was the first job, because that's the job I was brought over to do, was to translate film scripts, documentary scripts. One of them was about Chernobyl, and that was a two-parter. And one of them was about Stalin. There was another one I did about a little village, a really remote village. But Stalin, my God, I mean, everybody loved him. They loved him. The nation loved him. The millions of mourners when he died. But then they found out that he would have pregnant women imprisoned or even executed because he felt their unborn child would grow up to be a dissenter, and he signed every single death warrant himself. And so they found out afterwards what a bit of a bugger he was, shall we say. So yeah, there's some very interesting history over there. It wasn't very nice. Anyway, enough about Soviet history.
And back to Ideal World, back to that.
Yes, indeed.
There's a particular leader, talking about tyrannical leaders in the world right now. There's a particular gentleman over on the stateside, and he's doing this strange kind of thing, Rob. It's kind of similar to what you do between 12 and 3 a.m., which is he sells items live on TV. But Rob, I know that you don't condone drug dealing, okay? And I know that you don't condone drug selling. But absolutely the leader of the free world right now is doing his very best to sell drugs live during press conferences, hydroxychloroquine, a couple other things like that. I mean, do you think Donald Trump would be a good addition to the Ideal World team?
Oh, I can't say what I would say. Because even though I'd mean it very comedically, I'd get in a lot of trouble. No, I don't think he's honest enough. No.
Okay.
No.
But
maybe he'd be okay for Fabulift.
Yeah,
that would be. I'd have him as a guest on Fabulift, I think.
Fabulous.
But
he's really going. He's really. I mean, not to labour on this point, but he's really going quite hard on the selling of basically, legal drugs to the population, and they haven't even been tested to see what the effect would be. I think.
No, he's the pharmaceutical companies love him because America, more people die every year of prescription drugs in America than they do of illicit drugs. They're the biggest drug dealers on the planet, America, the pharmaceutical companies there, and they are given in America they have this lovely thing called lobbying. So any company can hire a lobbyist to lobby the government to have laws passed that benefit their business, and they pay for this privilege. They support financially presidential campaigns and things like that. So it's basically, if we call a spade, it's legal bribery, and the pharmaceutical companies run amok, even to the point where they just make up diseases. I mean, and they call them the most ridiculous things, but they advertise them on TV. They're allowed to advertise on TV. So, and they hire like hypnotists and psychology experts to write these commercials to get into people's heads. It's extraordinary.
Rob, is Donald Trump the greatest drug dealer of all time?
Well, I suppose you'd have to say yes, because he's doing the commercials for the drug companies without them having to pay for it. So
we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. That'll come out eventually.
By proxy, not necessarily deliberately.
Well, I'm not going to attempt the name, but the name that begins with Hydro, right?
Yes.
Sales in that drug they've just went nuts. That is definitely, like, I don't know in terms of the scale, but it's right up there in recent months with marijuana. So I think he's on.
Even though, well, he's definitely effective. I mean, all you have to do is be president of what they like to call the most powerful country in the world, and your drug sales are undoubtedly going to benefit from it. So whether it's been tested or proven or not,
that's just a small detail, isn't it?
Just a small detail. Well, I like the way they call side effects. With drugs, side effects, what they really mean is new diseases. So take this pill; it might or might not help with with what you've got, but it also might give you 20 of these other things. And people put this stuff in their mouths. I'm very cautious of all of that. I have very strong feelings about prescription.
Am I not
drugs,
right in saying that in America they have these adverts, right, for pharmaceuticals, and it'll be like, I don't know, benzodiazepine, right? And it'll be saying these wonderful things that it'll do. It'll treat your gut. It'll give you a healthy gut. It'll allow your digestion to be better, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of the advert, it'll have, in bold letters, like, this might cause severe nausea. It might cause severe vomiting. You may die. Like, really,
Yeah. In fact, usually because they can't show the drugs or anything, so what they do is they just have montages of families looking happy and buying ice creams and all of this kind of stuff, and riding horses and go-karting and dancing and having a lovely jolly time. And then to that, they talk about the drug, and in they're usually in minute commercials because they got money to pay for the extra time. So the first 10 seconds, they talk about the drug and what it might do. And then they have a voiceover that's sort of subtly underneath, along with it on the screen too. And the rest of the commercials, mainly what the side effects might be. My son was asthmatic. And so he had this inhaler he took. And I saw an advert for it one day on TV. And it said, this amazing, whatever it was, Advair to help you with your asthma. And then side effects may include asthma-related death. That was the first side effect.
Asthma-related death?
Asthma-related death was a side effect of this asthma medication. I mean,
that's insane.
It's very scary.
Asthma-related death. Wow.
Yes, I know.
There's so much stuff that they just say there that you could never get away with in Britain. Just never.
Yeah, they don't have the same oversight that we had. The reason we have such amazing oversight by the ASA, as it's called now, is because I think it was the 60s or 70s, around that time, there was a drug released, I believe, to help pregnant women either alleviate their whatever, some pain or discomfort they would have as related to pregnancy, and it was called thalidomide. And unfortunately, it caused horrific birth defects in the children that were born. Terrible things. So that's when that's it. You're never allowed ever again to advertise pharmaceuticals on TV. But also the big problem with it is, and you see this in the States, that people go to their doctor and the doctor says, yes, you have a tennis elbow. You need tennis elbow be gone. And they go, well, no, I saw this cream on TV that was called goodbye tennis elbow. Shouldn't I have that? No, tennis be gone is definitely, tennis elbow be gone is the one you need. And they'll bargain with their doctors, and the doctors are all often on a kickback as well. And so it's, they just give people what they want. People end up self-prescribing a lot of the time. So not always, but it does happen.
That is brutal.
So we're going to move on to our conventional polls now as part of the show, Rob.
Good. That was the serious section of the show, obviously.
It was. This is a real deal.
It's going to get a lot more serious when you see some of these, Rob. Some of these. Crazy situations.
So
right, please.
I'm going to. We've got 3 to go on with here, and I'm going to read out the first one, which was our Nile Crocodile one. So it was $1 million cash in a briefcase. But you must enter an enclosed cage and fight a large Nile crocodile to the death. You will be given 3 weapons: a spear, a machete, and a baseball bat. Now, 68.5% of people said they would take it. Overwhelmingly enough, 39.5% said they would leave that one. Rob, would you take or leave that one?
Absolutely. It's only a crocodile. Let's face it. Look, but all that, they've got one. You stay away from the business end. You know what I mean? And if you've got a very large blade, I think you could probably overcome it before it would overcome you. So I'd fancy my odds on that one. Yeah, definitely.
So what?
Just don't go.
Really?
Yeah.
So just to confirm here, Rob, between the spear or the machete would you be killing it with?
Machete. You've got more. Yeah, the machete, because you can dig it. You've got more power to, got more blade. A spear might break, whereas a machete.
The reason that I would have taken it as well, but the spear would have been my weapon of choice because of the distance.
Yeah.
Because if the big mouth gets near you, then it's night. So
that's what I'm saying. Just go around the back.
Go around the back, yeah.
I'd go around. I'd come from behind. I'd jump on its back and I'd shove the machete right through its.
So
skull.
You would go for physical contact, right? Basically. Arm-to-arm combat.
Jiu-jitsu.
Well, I don't know about arm-to-arm. Now, it depends. If it's on land or if it's in the water.
You can pick the terrain.
I would say land. In the water, I would go with the spear because in the water,
I think in the water, you'd go with
land,
the crocodile death. I don't think you're going to compete in the water, Rob.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I wouldn't want to compete in the water. I think the crocodile would win that one. But if it was on land, like I've seen Crocodile Dundee, how hard can it be? I mean, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
What is the size of a Nile crocodile? Like
huge.
Huge. Yeah, but what is can we quantify?
I don't know, 5 meters long.
Well, yes, it's all relative. It's interesting that you picked up on the fact that I am a crocodile expert. I don't know. I've seen alligators. I haven't actually seen crocodiles, but in Florida, because I lived in Florida for a few years, and a big alligator is probably 10, 12 feet long. They're pretty big, but that's including their tail. So. Yeah, I imagine crocodiles are.
But their little arms are shite. They're useless.
Exactly.
It's just a big mouth going. That's the only.
Exactly. It's like I got bitten by a crocodile. Well, why were you near its mouth? Stay at the back. It's very.
I think you and Rob have got more in common with this one than you have with me.
Because
stay
I
at
would
the back.
genuinely be going. No, because I would keep away. Because Rob's right. That big dangerous face. I would be getting it, prodding it from the side, boarding it from the back.
Right. I mean, they can run pretty quickly.
Yeah, but they can sprint very quickly.
They can, but their heads are not very very well articulated. So in the water, they can maneuver extremely fast, and once they've got you, they do the death roll, don't they, and take you down to the bottom. So, but on land, they're not particularly agile, and as I say, I mean, as long as you come round the back. I don't know. I've seen a lot of crocodile handling, and that's good advice, I think, on any day. I've seen lots of alligator handling and things, and for a million, I'd give it a go. I think.
Can I say one thing?
Of course.
If I had the Daedric Battleaxe of Annihilation, I would hit take it. But without that sacred weapon, I'm not confident that a spear, a machete, and a baseball bat's going to get the job done.
But Sean, you've made the right choice, because I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but the Battleaxe of Annihilation does come with the reptile attachment, so you're good. Yeah.
I think it's fair to say very quickly before I move on there that there's no chance. I mean,
what's your opinion, Stevie? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What's your opinion? Because you seem to just float through this podcast without giving it one opinion. What's your opinion on this?
I wouldn't be able. I know that I would be done in there, because look, first 30 seconds of this podcast, I got the name of Rob's wonderful employers wrong. I think me up against a crocodile, the pressure there, I'm done. I'm done for. And it's looking at me, and it's.
I'm going to have to agree with you here. I think that would be a battle too far for you, Stevie.
It would be. I mean, I've taken on coronavirus and I've battered it. We all have. But
you've won.
The crocodile would smash me there. No, definitely. And the next one, again, is a overwhelming take it, right? Again, this is something I would leave, but I'm going to read it out. Rob, I want your opinion. For £500,000, you will be equipped with a device that randomly transports you to somewhere else in the world for 1 hour per day. It will always be on land and not at sea. This experimental procedure will last for 365 days. Now, 85% of people said that they would take that one. I think it's just mental, to be honest. What do you think, Rob?
Really? Well, I mean, I'm curious. I have to know after I've answered why you think it's mental. Because well, go ahead. Why is it mental? You go ahead.
I think because, again, we could be doing this podcast and I could be wearing this device and I'm transported into a maximum security South African prison, and I have watched documentaries on such prisons. I'd be done. 2 minutes, I'd be finished, and I'm enjoying the podcast here with everyone.
So you don't have any control over where you go and when?
Nope.
Is that what you're saying?
It's just randomly taking you onto someone. Could be in the middle of a riot in Venezuela. Anything.
Oh, then I'd leave it. Yeah, if I had control, then definitely I'd take it. But yeah, no, I wouldn't like to be in a South African prison either, or any prison. I'd be terrible in prison. I just don't. I mean, I'd be a right little girl about it. I mean, no disrespect to little girls, obviously, but I would be. I'd be somebody's bitch in about 5 minutes, I'm sure. And no disrespect to bitches either.
Gentlemen, are you in the same sort of thinking as myself and Rob there, or is Mark somehow, the big man here, but he would still take that?
I think the unpredictability of danger would probably stick me in a no. Definitely.
Yep.
I mean, I land in a desert, it's bye-bye. I land in a jungle, it's potentially bye-bye. I land in an orange lodge. I land in an orange lodge in, Lanark. It's bye-bye. So it's a no from me. But thank you for the offer, Stevie. It was
okay. On the plus side, I could always...
Yeah. But you could also, admittedly, to sort of pick up on something I believe I once said before, you could land on a virgin's thighs. So there's always that.
There's always that.
Yes.
Yeah. How's that stock price looking?
It's went away up 50%. Yeah. Rob, can I ask, what was the name of the item you were selling alongside the notion that it felt like a virgin's thighs?
Oh, it was a pillowcase. It was very, very, very smooth. I did get told off about that because it's an Alan Partridge quote. Anyone who knows Alan Partridge, because he's one of my favourite shows, and the actual quote quotation, is rolled on the thighs of a virgin. And so mine, it was just a variation. I was going to say this pillowcase is as smooth as a baby's bum, and I just thought, oh, that's boring. Everybody says that, so I quoted, sort of para-quoted Alan Partridge, but my bosses weren't too sure if that was appropriate, unfortunately. So I did get. I'll
say one thing though. If, for example, I took this £500,000 and this device randomly transported me onto one of those beautiful pillowcases.
That would, yeah.
You know,
very
that
very
changes
much so. Very
things
much
up. So it's luck of the draw. I feel it's luck of the draw.
Have you guys if you just seen what happened? I think Mark had already taken that. He's disappeared.
Oh my God, he has. Mark
He's just disappeared.
We
He's
can only
left
hope
the show.
You know, I think he's been transported into some part of the world. I can only hope he returns. And the next,
I don't know if he's transported.
He might have gone to relieve himself, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know.
We're having a nice look at Mark's room. Very interesting.
It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah.
Nice wee studio. By the way, Rob, you were saying about your bosses weren't too happy about that particular.
Well, you know, and look, rightly so. I make no bones about it. I do push the envelope a lot, but the issue is that whereas I'm trying to make it as entertaining for people to watch as possible, there is also the guidelines. The ASA guidelines are very different for transactional television than they are for regular television. So if I were on just ITV late at night, I could say within reason, you know, pretty much what I want to. But that's not the case when it's a commercial presentation. So I try to do it to sort of bring new, fresh people in and to make it as watchable and enjoyable for everybody as possible. But what I have to keep reminding myself, and I say this all the time, is the job I'm being paid to do is not that. I'm only being paid to be a TV salesman or to, you know, extol the virtues of the
presenter.
And that the thing is that to just do that, I think particularly for the ITV audience, because it's a very different demographic. You know, if you watch shopping TV, you're already somebody that watches shopping TV. But if you're watching ITV, that's not necessarily a shopping TV type viewer. And what I've sort of prided myself on, and what what I do, what I'm very, very happy with, is that I have brought in a totally new set of eyeballs who may or may not buy, but there's a trade-off, and sometimes my entertainer side gets the better of me, and it's like Jekyll and Hyde almost. So I have to be careful
entertainer
because
comes out.
Rob,
right, exactly. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Did you ever watch Terry Tibbs?
Teletubbies.
Terry Tibbs.
Oh, Terry Tibbs. No, who's Terry Tibbs?
Phone jacker.
No. Yeah,
Sean and me, we were addicted because Terry Tibbs had a character who was on. He said, "What was it called?"
Phone jacker. It was called.
He went on bid.tv or something, and he sold, and he was selling stuff for a day. He was like an Ali G type character. He was all done up.
Oh, really?
People thought he was a legitimate businessman, but his original business is that he's a car salesman from London, and he talks like that. He's got that kind of, you know, he's selling things, and it's all business, right? So he goes on this bid.tv, and he's selling.
Tell him the one about the bike.
The exercise bike, right? So he's selling the exercise bike, and the presenter hands it over to him. Says, "Okay, Terry, tell us about the bike." And he goes, "Now the amazing thing about this bike, right, is you can actually take the side bits off and cycle it down to the shops." And the woman says, "No, Terry, you can't do that. You can't do that." That's the way he does it, honestly. You can take these side bits off.
I love the fact that it said side bits.
No. Oh, I have to look that up. I'll have to look that up afterwards.
Brilliant.
Oh my gosh,
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. But what people don't realize about what I do is the whole, you know, the whole Rob Locke with an E thing. It's an act, you know, it is. And it's not anywhere ever a deliberate parody of anyone that exists already, just because I have a bit of a passing resemblance to Ricky Gervais. I think that's why people make that connection. And my comedic sensibilities are similar. But it's a character. I play it. You know, people always say, "Are you a TV presenter?" And I say, "No, I just play one on TV." And that really is it. You know, it's the buffoonery and the lack of filter, and I'm very aware of the ridiculousness of what I'm doing, and the fact that is very close to becoming, and I'm sorry to say it, but irrelevant. You know, shopping TV, I'm sure in 10, 20 years won't be around anymore. It'll all be digital, and, you know, it's already struggling, I think, to be relevant. So I'm trying to I'm doing a skit really, but with occasionally focused on actually selling the product. And that character does his job well sometimes, and other times he's a naughty boy and gets carried away. So that's the way I view it anyway.
I think the bit that personally, if I can just say, like the thing that I enjoy about it a lot is that what you end up doing is a lot of the time it's companies like Apple, for example, you're selling like an Apple product or whatever, and they just have no purchase in the world about getting, upset about something or offended or anything. And I like that you were selling those iPhones in a pirate voice. It was just beautiful TV. Because you were just taking their product and putting it, and then just basically, kind of stripping it of all its self-importance and all its, everything that goes along with their brand, and just saying, right, we've got a gold one. I think you said, right, we've got silver. We've got a silver one coming up now. We've got a gold one. And it was just amazing, because it was just like, do you know what? Like, all these major companies and all these, they're out there making a ton of money, and sometimes somebody out there needs to, bring them down a peg, and we can have a laugh at them.
So well, and also, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think also a lot of it is you've got to be in a marketplace now with social media, and it's everywhere is such a crowded marketplace. You have to be a bit of a disruptor to be heard and seen. And the fact is that on one of those shows, selling an iPhone or whatever it is that we're selling, maybe 1,000 people will buy one of those phones, and you go, well, that's 1,000 people that never had an iPhone before. So it works to a different sector of the audience who, whatever advertising Apple are doing at the moment, hasn't convinced them to buy an iPhone, and some stupid thing I've done has. So it's covering all your bases. And one of the big misconceptions people make about me, not that you asked, but I'll tell you anyway, is they think I'm just going out on telly with a stream of consciousness. That my boss has even said to me, sometimes you just say whatever comes into your head, don't you? And I'm like, really? You think after, not toot my own horn, but nearly 30 years of doing this, that's what I'm doing? No, I know exactly what's coming out my mouth. Everything I say is for a reason and for an effect. And I've always said to every boss that's ever told me off, and I've been chastised numerous times for being too funny, too entertaining, to this, to that, to something around the corner. And it's always, look, the product wasn't selling. If I'm entertaining, it's because the product is slow. If the product's selling off the shelves, and let the good people help themselves to whatever it is that they wish to buy.
Was too funny and too entertaining a genuine complaint?
Yeah,
that seems like seems like a complete compliment. It's like saying you're too amazing. Stop being too amazing, Rob.
Rob, not to offend, but it also sounds exactly like something David Brent would say. I was being too entertaining.
Well, I know. It's very true. It's very true. That's what's so ridiculous about it, And if David Brent or if Ricky Gervais had actually ever worked in shopping television, I'm sure that would have inspired The Office just as much as whatever corporate. It's corporate. It's the corporate world, is what it is. And the thing is that shopping television is not television. It's not run by television people. It's run by retailers, by shop people. And people with their spreadsheet don't know what makes a good TV show necessarily, and people who make good TV shows don't know what makes a good retail product either. But they're such disparately or such what's the word I'm looking for? Not juxtaposed, diametrically opposed concepts that they don't really fit together very well. And so my performance is not judged on how good the show was. It's judged on how sales went. So if sales were bad, but the show was Oscar winning or Emmy or BAFTA winning, so to speak, it was a bad show. And if the show was absolutely dire, but we sold a shed load of stuff, it was a great show. So we're judged by very different things. And I remember at QVC, particularly when I was there, they were so... in the early days, that's all we did. We entertained. We in the original, I was one of, not the first lineup, but I came in fairly soon after it launched. And we as a group of presenters, we were TV people. We were presenters. We were entertainers. I'd just come from children's TV. And so that entertainment is what built that channel up to, I think, about £350 million a year in 5 years, I seem to recall, 5 or 6 years. And then the money got so serious that the American mothership would start sending their executives over to find out what was going on. And they started dictating how we should do things. And it became much more of a corporate culture. And now apparently it's very much a corporate culture. So that's when they were so afraid of losing sales that if you said anything funny, I got told I couldn't wear certain colors of tie because it might distract from the product. Anything that the product was this golden child, and anything that might have distracted from it. So if I told a joke, made people laugh, no, don't do that. That you might risk the sale. And that's actually one of the reasons I went, well, you know what? If you want me to do that job, that's not the job. That I can't do that job. That's not me.
Did you ever accidentally say something wrong or bad about a product?
I'm sure I have. Yeah, I mean, I am. At the end of the day, I am human, and I do occasionally genuinely make mistakes. But it's very hard when you do what I do, like on ITV, to then when I do have a genuine slip up, to say, no, honestly, it was just an accident. Yes, right, Rob. Yeah. Of course it was. Yeah.
I seen one slip up, Rob. One bad slip up.
Yeah, go on. Which was that?
I remember
which one?
You said a particular word that began in N and ended in E.
Yes, that was a slip up. I know. And you probably can't say the word.
Yeah, and you weren't even trying to. It was clearly a word that used to mean something way back when.
Yeah.
And it changed its meaning because you had the earpiece in, and I hit because when you said when I was watching a video and you said it, and then I seen you were in the earpiece going, "Oh, I can't say that word." And I was like, "Oh fuck, here we go."
Well, no, because this, and actually, I've fallen afoul of this a few times because. Even though I'm a Brit born and bred, I left Britain in the 2000, just after the turn of the millennium, and I came back for a little bit in between, but in whenever it was 2002. But other than that, I was out of the country for 20 years. I've lived in America longer as an adult than I have in England. So, well, now that's changing obviously because I've been back for a bit, but for a year or so, just over nearly 2 years actually. But so a lot of words have changed their meaning, and this one was one of them. And also a lot of things that comedy was built on back in the day 20 years ago, that's not the case. I mean, the double entendre was the bastion of British comedy, and now they don't like that sort of thing. The sort of sexual innuendo, even no matter how innocent it is, and look at the size of his staff, that kind of thing. It's not matron. As acceptable. Oh, matron, But yeah, I mean, I was brought up on Frankie Howard and and all of that sort of stuff. So I've had to play a lot of catch up very quickly because there are gaps definitely in my cultural.
Yeah, I don't think Alf Garnett will be getting replayed much these days.
No, he's been banned. He's actually been banned. Yeah, did you know that?
No, I just assumed it. Yeah. I just assumed.
Yeah, I know. Oh, Alf Garnett, and the other one, which is a real shame actually, is It Ain't Half Hot Mum. Because now they deem the differences to be too offensive to modern day people, and you know what nearly went, which I'd have been out on the street protesting if it had. Only Fools and Horses, believe it or not.
Seriously?
Yeah, and I think it's a shame because, and I'm not going to get into this too much because it's a difficult and a touchy subject, but I don't think you should go retroactively changing history because it's offensive now. I mean, otherwise, where do we draw the line? Do we stop talking about
particularly comedy? I mean, for fuck's sake, comedy. Like, I mean,
right.
the hint is in the title of what it is. It's comedy. It's not like
exactly.
It's not to be taken seriously.
Yeah,
yeah.
And also, I think
it
becomes. I think it becomes quite problematic when, for example, certain things which are offensive and which fundamentally do need to be removed start becoming actually misidentified.
The context is gone.
When for example, I'm not going to start a big rant about this, but when for example, you have things like the Mighty Bush, who, if we're really going to start removing the Mighty Bush, we really need to take a good look at what is the end goal? What's the end here? What are we trying to achieve?
Why the Mighty Bush? What was it that happened in the Mighty Bush?
I think it was the spirit of jazz was blackface.
The spirit of jazz is gone?
It's gone.
Well, and also, you have to think in those days, the BBC, I can't remember if that was a BBC show or an ITV show.
That was a BBC show, but it was like 2002
it was BBC.
or 2003.
Yeah, there were censors. That was deemed, and every script is approved by censorship. It has to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that was deemed acceptable in that day. So to people living at that time, it would not have been considered offensive, no matter what, it means now.
And also, Rob,
you mentioned a very, go on, sorry.
Like, I say one thing, like, also, like, if you watch a show like The Mighty Bush, it's so absurd, it's so left field, it's Salvador Dali-esque. Can the spirit of jazz be deemed offensive? Sure. There's a couple of other instances of it where it was definitely on the, I can see why it would be offensive. However, I think there needs to be a little bit of calm and a little bit of, like, let's take a step back.
But you've also got a guy in a jungle who is obsessed with an old shoe and Baileys. I mean, there has to be some context to that type of comedy.
Chewing gum, or a big chewing gum.
But but the thing is, two of you now have mentioned a magic word, and that is context. People don't look at context anymore. They never allow the context to dictate what's funny and what isn't. And this is something Ricky Gervais talks about, actually. You have to look at the context, because just because I've said a couple of words that you recognize as words that may have been used prejudicially by other people in some other context doesn't mean that because of the way I'm using them now is also prejudicial. And that's the problem. People are they hear the word and they go, oh, and they're instantly on their high horse. And I think people are missing out on a trick. First of all, I think you have to learn from history, not erase it. That would take the conversation back to the whole Soviet Union when they used to edit history and all of that sort of stuff. But I think, you have to learn from those mistakes, but also, where do we draw the line? I mean, do we stop talking about, and I'm going to say it, the Holocaust, because, I think everybody needs to know that story because of the atrocious things that happened. Yeah. But if it's offensive to people now, do we now ignore that? Because Hitler was not a very nice bloke, so let's not talk about him anymore.
Or to take your point,
you know
Rob,
what I mean?
Do we go and just destroy all of Auschwitz and just say, it didn't happen? Let's erase
that's right.
Don't talk about it. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Move along. And there's an amazing BBC documentary called Auschwitz. It's a 5-parter. It's on Netflix now. And I believe everybody alive should see it because it's so haunting and so just unbelievable as to what actually happened. And I think it's the duty of every human being to honour the deaths of every one of those millions of people by watching that documentary.
Not to lighten,
and at least in their head,
Not
to lighten, please do.
To lighten the conversation, but I actually went to Auschwitz, and it was
amazing. It
was after I'm going to go a bit lighter though. It was after a stag party in which there was 25 guys went there, and I remember people the night before, tomorrow we'll go on the trip, and we need to, and they were like explaining the itinerary. You need to wake up at 5 a.m. to go, and everyone, you know that way. Everyone, we'll be there drinking. Yeah, we'll be there. And so at the actual bus to go the next day, it was 3 of us. From all those absolute fucking liars the night before. So anyway, we turned up to the Auschwitz, and you'll know the difference between the Auschwitz 1 and Auschwitz Birkenau. And I thought I thought Auschwitz 1 was it. I was like, that's really terrible. Like, terrible. I need to go up the road now thinking
Birkenau was...
And the guy's like, no, we get in the bus and we go to the other site. And I was like, what? And then we got to the other site. But I remember I was like just walking around and just cracking jokes and stuff about the night before, intermittently in between feeling utter
of course
numb about the atrocity that had went there, but the alcohol the Bailey's was still
I don't blame you. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard thing. As my final word on it, it's a hard thing to deal with. It really is, even to someone that didn't live it, and to imagine. And it's imagining people that did.
It's brutal. It is brutal.
Yeah, probably half drunk is a better way to handle it than completely sober. I would have thought. I don't know, but sorry, I got very serious there for a minute. But
no, I think it's an interesting part of culture, which I think that totally for the reasons that you say, which I agree with, which is like an example of how evil people could be, and I think that you can only learn from that as a species. So definitely.
Absolutely. And make sure that, what is it? There's a saying about being doomed to repeat history. The people that ignore history are the ones doomed to repeat it, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But I think you need these landmarks. And I think, offense now is triggered by different things, but understand attitudes. And I think you've got to look at context, and you've got to understand the reasons, even intentions behind what is said. Because, one of the things I posted on my Twitter about that I don't discuss politics and religion. And the reason is because I'm an entertainer, and I keep my Twitter and all my social media very much as my entertainment based, And of course, the first thing that people came up to me or tweeted to me was, yeah, well, what about Black Lives Matter? That's not religion or politics. That's, human rights. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. But you could tell people were starting to get, or I could tell people were starting to get, hang on a minute, is he denying BLM or whatever it happens to be? So in the end, and people didn't realize, my son is half black. My ex-wife is black, and so not that I would ever understand what it's like to be black and go through those prejudices, but I do have a little greater experience of it because my family and my blood are half that ethnicity. So it's but there's a lot of sensitivity, and a lot of it's right, but also a lot of the time you can't take everything too seriously because it sounds like something that is serious. Is the point I think I was trying to make, if that makes sense.
I think you're right there, Rob. So, you can't take everything too seriously, and that's what us Extreme Polls basically try and do. Essentially, create entertainment, have a laugh. And when we're talking about, for example, this poll, which was, as we've already said, Scotland has defeated coronavirus. It's done. It's finished. But the rest of the world are unfortunately suffering from COVID-19. So we said a vaccine for COVID-19 will never be found apart from in Scotland. Right. A superpower combination of your choice. You can choose the following. Right now, it would be invisibility or magnetism, flight or pyrokinesis, shape-shifting or telekinesis, or you could leave it. Now, I don't know why you would ever want to leave something like that, but the majority of people voted for shape-shifting and telekinesis. And then after that...
go on, sorry,
No, after that, then the second most voted was leave it. So even like stuff like flight and pyrokinesis never came second or anything.
What is pyrokinesis?
Fire. Fire.
Well, first of all, you'd have to choose abilities that I don't already have. So, that's a little remiss of you, if you don't mind me saying. But no, I wouldn't the ultimate superhero sacrifice his or her powers for the greater good? I'd have to leave it. Sorry.
Wow.
Even though I've dreamt of flying all my life.
So, Stevie, so what would your reason be for... Because you suggested that you definitely wouldn't leave it. So why are you so emphatic about that?
I think the fun you would have being invisible would just be fantastic. It would be great.
You selfish little man.
I am. Well, I'll just stay in Scotland where it's coronavirus free. But I think invisibility would be great. I mean, I think, let's be honest, you'd never be struggling for money again, because going invisible, I would just be going into hundreds of banks, hundreds of shops.
So you'd be invisible and a thief.
Yeah, and a looter.
A looter, that's right.
Yes. Rob, sorry, can I just interject for 2 seconds, Rob? Just to fill you in our last podcast that we done, right? We were talking about the idea of looting and how as children we had fantasized about looting as going into, like, I don't know, HMV or something and grabbing all that stuff, and we were talking about how on top of looting, that another fantasy was the ability to pause the world. Now, we posed the question to Stevie and said, so Stevie, if you had the ability to pause the world, what would you do? Now, and he had some time to think about this, and Stevie replied he would like to captain a cruise ship. Now, it's possibly the most fucking dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life, but he's so emphatic. So just to put you in the picture of where Stevie is, his headspace is at with that, and he still defends it, incidentally.
Well, I've been on the bridge of a cruise ship, and if you've done that, then I can definitely say it would be kind of cool. But even if you haven't, it would be kind of cool.
I think the outcome's going to be Costa Concordia 2, part 2 with Stevie. Yeah, and I think his actions will be very similar to the captain on that particular ship that basically said, did he not? He went to court, by the way. That captain of the Costa Concordia went to court and said that he accidentally tripped and fell into a lifeboat. Genuinely said that in court. He accidentally tripped and fell into a lifeboat, and that's how he didn't go down with the ship or continue his duties as the captain. Yeah,
I can get behind that. He sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, wow. I think if I was to take that, I would definitely be taking shape-shifting, telekinesis. Shape-shifting, because I would shape-shift into a gorilla and just smash into a jeweler's, steal everything, raid the jewelers, and then I'd shape-shift back into my normal form, and everyone would go, we're looking for a gorilla, he stole all this material, he stole all this stuff, and you'd be like, this gorilla doesn't exist anymore.
Do you know, if I was going to take any of them, I would take the shape-shifting into Donald Trump and just start being nice to people. And start apologising and going, I'm really sorry for all of this. And actually just saying, do you know what? See, I was talking shite before. They drugs fucking kill you, man. Don't honestly just fucking ding it.
Right. And don't drink bleach.
Yeah. I was fucking out my nut. I don't know what I was thinking. Bleach?
No,
I would. You could go. I mean, but I think. Do you know my thing is that I think in a year from now the corona will be 100% gone. Controversial, I guess.
I hope you're right. Yeah, I hope you're right.
But at what cost?
You're not about to start punting drugs now, are you, Mark? A new drug.
Well, we could all shapeshift. We could shapeshift into an antiviral and just go, person to person and cure them. That's what we could do, I suppose.
Or we could. Do you know what? Actually, you're onto something. We could shapeshift into people that because ultimately it's a kind of right wing movement, isn't it? That's promulgating the idea that you should fight against staying indoors. So you could, I don't know, who's a good Eminem could shapeshift into Eminem and say, "Get in the hussies, yous. Like this is a night what you doing?" Or your wee EDL guy could just say, "Look, I'm sorry, this is a direct order in the hussies. All of yous there."
That's a very good idea. That's actually very smart.
I know that yous all want to get into that city centre.
I've got it, Mark.
Enjoy a peaceful protest, which incidentally, for some reason, involves alcohol. But get in the houses.
Mark, I've got it. David Icke does a YouTube video saying, right, see all that lizard stuff and see all that stuff about the deep state and all that. Just wear a mask, guys. Wear a mask. Put a mask on. Stay in the house for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Corona would be solved like that. Done. Boom. Over.
Finished.
Oh, so many ways. Now you could shapeshift into whoever the sort of the most attractive woman in the world, and offer to provide. Well, I think you can tell that, and it could be the most.
The stock's going down again.
Then the most attractive man in the world, and you could use your innate sexuality to entice people, or to suggest that if they were to stay indoors, that should you ever be passing through their village, that you would happily go out for a little dinner with them and perhaps a little evening romance. I don't know. Something like that. I'm thinking.
Or shapeshift into Jeff Bezos and say, look, for everyone that stays home.
There you go, free shipping!
Yeah, there you go. And plus 10 grand each. There you go, it's just the way it's worked out.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Jeff Bezos does run the world, as we know. So.
Yeah.
Well, you're all saying it's the end of coronavirus. It's the end of coronavirus, indeed, but it's also coming up to the end of our wonderful podcast as well.
It's been great. Sad. Thank you. I know. I didn't know we'd cover half the topics we did, but I appreciate it, and hopefully I haven't completely ruined my career by saying anything that I said, which is always a danger. Let's be honest.
No, Rob. The one thing that I'm surprised
amazing.
you didn't take the pyrokinesis because of the cigar. You could just go out.
Is Sean's?
That's
is Sean's,
true. Is what? Sorry.
No, sorry. I can't hear Sean at the moment. But
oh no. He was saying that I should take the pyrokinesis because I could just light my cigar without having any ancillary equipment. Yeah. Boom. Yeah. I do love fire, don't you? I do love fire. If I was going to be a villain, I probably would be a pyro, whatever those guys are.
Yeah.
Maniac.
You're going to be a hero.
I'll just settle for being a maniac, right?
Johnny Blaze there.
Yeah.
Now, what we obviously you're not off the hook, Rob, because we will have to contact you to get our poll from you to the audience as well, and we will tweet that out. And so again,
I can tell you what it is, but you obviously don't want it on. You don't want it recorded. I'll give it.
No. Actually, you can tell us.
Let's hear it. Go for it. Because come on.
Because tell us.
Okay. Well, you one of the things you said in your original email to me was about ranting about something, an injustice or some such thing, something along. I'm paraphrasing. And it's got to be said. It's been hotly debated for many years, and I have to set the record straight about something very, very, very important, life and world changing, and that is Han shot first. He just did. Han Solo shot Greedo. End of story, and then that was that. So, my poll would be if you had shot Greedo deliberately as Han Solo, would you have paid the barman on the way out and apologised for all the mess?
That's a very interesting, different type of poll.
That's so different.
I like it.
Good.
I like it.
If you don't, I'll come up with someone else.
No, that's it. No.
So would you have paid for the mess? Would you? Yeah.
I think if you're at that level where you've already committed to the murder,
yeah.
Would you want? And your reputation's on the line, so people are going to go, "Well, he's just killed him." But
yeah.
Let's
flip it. What if Greedo had shot first? Would you have paid the barman? Does that make it more interesting?
I think yeah, because you've went out of the way and you've instigated murder again.
Yeah.
When you shot first, and
so
then you've not.
Can we remind the audience of this situation? So this is Star Wars.
It's Star Wars, yes. And there is, in the original film, A New Hope, which was episode 4, there's a scene where Han Solo, who's an international swashbuckling bounty hunter type, what is he? A smuggler. He encounters a debt collector on behalf of somebody to whom he owes an extremely large amount of money or gold or whatever, and he shoots him dead in a bar. But then George Lucas, years later, re-edited it to make it look, because he didn't want to paint Han Solo as a bad character because he's one of the heroes of the film. He changed it so that Greedo, this monster, the debt collector, shot first, and it just got ridiculous, and it got changed many times. And I remembered it because I watched the original Star Wars about 417 times when I recorded it off TV as a young boy, and I know for a fact that definitely Han shot first. So yeah, so any Star Wars fan will know what I'm talking about. And it's if you're not Star Wars fans, you won't understand the contentiousness of what I'm saying, which is why it's quite an extreme poll, because it will incite an enormous amount of very, very heavy and forthright opinion, I think you'll find. Does that catch you up?
Yeah, it'll work them into a shit.
We're all Star Wars fans. I know the exact moment.
Brilliant.
I know that there's an obsession with the moment for some hardcore Star Wars fans.
For sure.
But absolutely, I'd pay the tab, because you know those like gangsters that maybe your gran used to talk about, and she'd always say, my gran would always say, she'd lay out the criminal history of the person, and then say something nice about them, like, oh, they were a lovely boy. Oh, they were lovely. Oh, they were really polite.
Those craze.
Oh, they had great manners, right? And you're just like, so I would like people to talk about me like that if I was to create a killing scene in a bar. I would pay the tab. I'd say, sorry for that mess, guys, and I'd leave so that their grands in future would then say, he was mental, but he was a lovely boy. He was lovely.
I'm going to retract that. I think Sean's right, and I think that is the That's the best route to go down, because I think as well after that the barman would appreciate it and go, well, you still paid your round, so you're no barred, and that might be the only bar.
Well, I'm sure that was I'm sure it was a story mechanism at the time that Lucas used, that was to show, well, all right, he might kill people, but he's not all that bad. He kills them nicely. You know, he takes care of business afterwards. He's all right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I'm all for it then.
Beautiful.
So we'll put that one right out to the fans.
I don't know if it's any good. I apologise if it's not up to your usual standard.
We'll write it up and put it out.
We will write it up and do it.
All right.
So again, it's Rob. Thanks a lot for coming on. And to anyone who wants to find you, you're on Twitter at Rob Locke on TV. Again,
correct. Rob Locke with an E.
With an E. You've also got your website, which is www.roblocke.com.
Yeah.
Again.
All my social media, Rob Locke on TV. Well, Rob Locke with an E on TV. And
got yourself.
You can't, and Google me. Just give me a little Google if you can't find me.
It has been a genuine honour to have you on, Rob, and thank you for being on.
My absolute pleasure. Anytime. Thank you, and thanks to everybody that watches.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Cheers.